Give me a moment, folks. Let me set certain things up, and I got you. Want to get it started. All right, so I know I look a little bit rugged and rough and shit, but that's all right, though. We gonna work with it. We gonna work with it. Size PDF upload. Um, when you walk in, click the share, subscribe to the content. Now, before I go into this, right? As the title says, hardworking black men deserve better. I don't mind the beard and shit. I'm rugged today. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. But let's get to it, right? Hardworking black men since Jim Crow and slavery have fought very hard to uplift their community, uplift their women, protect their women, especially during the 60s, the 80s, and the 90s. Yet, while that's during that same time, you had the Oprah Winfrey's, you had the Special Black Report, Black Women Views on Black Men, which I'm going to show this right here, right? And, you had the Serafina virus being deployed into these communities upon black men to destabilize whatever male patriarchy the black man was trying to establish. A bunch of manipulation tactics, a bunch that we now know of today, right? Shout out to the Angry Man, shout out to Tommy Sotomayor, right? And black women for the past 70 years have let black men know, hey, we strong, independent, and we don't need you. And the biggest mistake that a lot of black men made during those times was trying to, like with the Nation of Islam, the conscious community, trying to fix the problem of black women by, either simping, happy wife, happy life, you know, holding themselves accountable to certain standards, but shit just didn't work. And the reason being is because black women didn't want it to work. They didn't want it to work with you. You feel me? Um, there's a lot of cats here. Bro, I gotta show this one too. There's a lot of shit here, but I want to begin with this video first. Let me see. You know how hypocritical y'all are about Shannon Sharp dating a younger chick? Is there plenty of black women out here dating old white dudes, and none of y'all say a fucking thing about that? And I'm looking at something right now that showcase, but whatever. Let's go to this one. Support. Let's go to this one right here. Let's see if it's on the stage. And put it on the stage. There we go.
News on men up next.
This is where the Serafina virus started, how it started off, right? Claire Huxtable, she's a Serafina virus, but she's not as aggressive as it is now. Like, bro, let's just play.
Accept more parts of the
Now I know there are a lot of ladies here going to be taking some pot shots, but let's see if we can define some of the discussion that we're going to be dealing with. When we talk about the women of the 80s, is there something radically different or new about them?
I think in some ways,
This is
women
not
today are different in that they accept more parts of their
So this is like boomers, Gen X.
personality. They don't limit themselves nearly as much as women of the.
So by this time, boomers are probably were in their 20s and in their 20s, and I think the Gen X was just coming about.
40s or the 50s did. They don't see their role as bounded by any parameters set by anyone other than themselves. And so they're willing to take more risks in relationships and business, in child rearing. They're willing to negotiate more issues in their lives.
Okay. Well, what sorts of things are they saying about us men these days?
A lot. You men are in trouble.
See what I'm saying? And that brother up there, you simping already. This is what a lot of you black men during that time did. Like, you allowed your black women to give you a finger lashing and a tongue lashing, and tell you what you do, and tell you what you were doing wrong and what you're not doing. Meanwhile, these black women, what she said, this is a softer way of her saying we're rebelling against the black man. All right.
I knew it.
Some of the things that I hear women saying in my practice have to do with the expectations of that man carrying out his role in the home. Women are not going to be tolerant anymore of the assumption by men that when they come in from work and the man comes in from work, the man can sit down while they continue to work. So I hear many more women.
So hold on. Let me ask this a question. During that time, because this is the same argument they make it down. Black men during that time, a lot of them were into trades. A lot of them were into construction. A lot of them were into corporate America, right? Not every brother was just coming. This is the same argument white women make with white men, right? This is how you know. Look at the black women up here, right? Black women, you chose to be strong and independent at that time. Remember, she just said it on this thing. They chose to be strong and independent. They chose to go into the working field because this was first wave feminism. Right, this is the Claire Huxtable version of the Serafina virus, right? And you know what? I'm gonna do phases of the Serafina virus. I'm gonna break down phases of them for you, give them characteristics, right? Claire Huxtable version of the phase, it wasn't as aggressive. It was more soft and feminine, right? But they went to work by their own choice. They went to work by their own choice. Right? All these women had to do was black women had to do was sit home and take care of the kids and be nurturing. And that man went out and protect and provided and bring home the resources. And a lot of times, black men at that time, they would come home and help the women with the children a little bit. As far as disciplining the children and enforcing what the mother wanted them to do, those kids to be raised, right? But here you go, these black women talking about, yo, we don't have to. This black man has to come home, and she still has to work. Yes, that black man worked all day, and then came home, and expecting you to do your part of the work. This was black women being fucking lazy at the time. You wanted to be strong and independent and go work. Then you want that black man to also go to work and then come home and work. See what I'm saying? This is the confusion. Look how they fold on their damn hand. Look at their body language. Like, let's go.
Negotiating contracts with their husband for child care responsibilities. For example, more men now are picking up the children from the daycare center. More men are taking off work when the children are sick. And the women have stronger statements to make about the role that their jobs play in their lives, and the expectation that they're supposed to be at work too, and they can bring home a paycheck equal to or more than the man's on some occasions.
Now, when BT asked you a question about
so if the men at that time were taking care of, hold on. Let me replay that back. Let me make sure I heard her say that. Yeah.
Sick. Some of the things that I hear women saying in my practice have to do with the expectations of that man carrying out his role in the home. Women are not going to be tolerant anymore of the assumption by men that when they come in from work and the man comes in from work, the man can sit down while they continue to work. So I hear many more women negotiating contracts.
What were you continuing to work and do? Wash the clothes, take care of the children, be nurturing. What were you doing when that man wasn't there at the house? And you wouldn't have that problem if he wasn't working too.
With their husband for child care responsibilities. For example, more men now are picking up the children from the daycare center. More men are taking off work when the children are sick. And the women.
So you can't have two arguments. At the same time, black women were saying that black men are not taking care of these kids and they were deadbeat dads. So was it that they were deadbeat dads and they weren't taking care of the kids and y'all were just having out of wedlock births? Or did they capitulate to what you wanted? Them to take care of the kids and go to the daycare. You said, look at this old hole in the back.
Have stronger statements to make about the role that their jobs play in their lives, and the expectation that they're supposed to be at work too, and they can bring home a paycheck equal to or more than the man's on some occasions.
Now, when
the lie that's being told, just because you make them up, well, let me say that in the phrase of black culture. See, during that time, and this is 1986, right? Even though black men were working in construction and trades, they were still having a difficult time getting work in corporate America, getting work in trade. There was still like a hurdle for black men to get over, and black women were getting more opportunities of work than black men were getting. See, all black women were doing was just calling for more and more stuff. See, and I think what happened was that black men, up until this time, regardless of the shit that gets taken from us, resources that get taken from us or not being granted to us, we still found a way to achieve and progress. And what happens is, I guess, black women get jealous and say, well, we can't have that, so we need more stuff. Because remember, a lot of those, when you say, DEI hires and equal employment opportunity, a lot of those benefited more white women than black women. They didn't really benefit black men. Black men had to find other avenues. And black women knew this, because when you hear them want to accuse white people or white patriarchy, they speak on the issues of the things that affect black men. So they're aware of what black men have to deal with, but at the same time use those things against them.
BT asked you a question about what are they saying about men, and you said men are in trouble. But aren't relationships in trouble? I think men and women getting it together and making a go of it.
I think the relationships are going to survive, but they're in a state of transition more so than being in trouble. While this redefinition of roles are taking place, the men and the women are sometimes confused about where we want to go with this. How are we going to negotiate this contract? Will we be able to?
This is the social contract that the Angry Man, BGS Igmore, Dr. T.S. Johnson, and a couple other brothers in the Black Manosphere speak about. The social contract was based upon traditional relationships. It was a division of labor. The man goes out, he cooks, he earns, he protects, he provides, The woman stays home, cooks, cleans, and nurtures, right? And those things are based upon biology and biological factors, right? Black men were built, or men in general, built for competition and chaos and struggle. Women are built for comfort. This is based on biology and science. It's like you cannot say it's a social construct, because social construct is based upon your idea, and social constructs can't override biology and anatomy and science and billions of years of bioevolution, and nature and God evolving the men based upon what he has naturally built inside of him to deal with the environment. And the same thing goes for the women. Social constructs has nothing to do with it. And your idea on what you feel got nothing to do with it. All right. And I'm gonna make a video on that too.
Negotiate in a way that works for the survival of the relationship. And a lot of times men and women are willing to let go of the relationship rather than sacrifice or compromise the issues that are at hand.
But are men and women having?
No, that's what black men should have did. Black men should have said, well, listen, if you're going to go to work and choose to be independent and think you're going to be in a relationship with me, and then now you don't want to do your shit at home, but you expect me to do my job and your job. Remember, black men at that time were not asking black women to go do their job. That's black women choosing to be independent by themselves. So since we can't work this out, let's just charge this shit to the game and find other people. That's what black men should have did. Black women were doing it at that time. Black women were making every excuse on why they don't want to date black men and they want to date outside their race. That's what they were saying. But black men being tied to the unspoken Negro contract, being tied to black pro-blackness, the Nation of Islam and all those people, programming black men to, if you date outside your race and you date the white man, you're an enemy, you're a sellout. But y'all allow black women to do it. And then when y'all put black women in the corner, it's now a two-sided thing. It's both people at fault. Shout out to the angry man for bringing out that manipulation tactic, which I saw that manipulation tactic. I just couldn't put words to it. I didn't understand what it was. I didn't understand. I said, okay, every time you put black women to a light on them, they switch to it's both people's fault and it's the racism's fault. And then black women don't improve. They go back to doing bullshit. But black men improve. Black men find a way, regardless of what the system is doing, to improve and overcome. If you don't believe me, go on your Instagram today. You don't see niggas up there gang banging and dope dealing. You don't see Duke Dennis. You don't see Casamet. You don't see none of them brothers up there gang banging and drug dealing. You see them doing entertainment. You see brothers on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter and social media, and myself, who are intellectual. Either working out, I do MMA, I work out. And I'm going to bring those videos to YouTube. So black men on social media have broken those stereotypes. You see what I'm saying? Even people like Aaron the plumber. Aaron the plumber, even though he's running the fade and shit, he's a plumber. He's doing trades. You look on the Bloom Pop show. Look at the black men that go up there and get disrespected by them black women. They're quality black men. Not gang banging, not hustling.
In their relationships, when a man and a woman get together and they've been seeing each other for a while, are they beginning to discuss these kind of issues in terms of their relationship?
They're beginning to the ones that come into my office are discussing them using me as the referee and using the therapist as the referee sometimes for the discussion. So
Monty, this referee, she's a Serafina virus too. All right. A lot of these referees are plants planted there. You gotta remember the psychological, I forgot what that organization that deals with mental illness. A lot of the beginning of that was racism. A lot of racist shit, pseudo racism and pseudoscience was being told about on black men, right? So what a lot of black women do is that they went to these institutions and they studied the Marxism and the feminism, and they use these things to infect and program black men, more so to submit or capitulate to the black woman. So there was a lot of shit going on.
It is taking place in that arena. It's also taking place in other parts of the community. For example, churches now are more involved in pastoral counseling as a way to negotiate marriages. couples are looking more toward working out some of these issues prior to marriage, for example. So the negotiating is going on.
Okay, well, before we
No, I ain't
start,
gonna lie. That I ain't gonna lie. That's pretty good. To see people if people are compatible, because really and truly, it's not about traditional. It isn't about traditional roles. It's about, is this person compatible? Because now that we know better, right? It's all about if that woman likes and respects that man. Is she gonna follow his lead, right? So now, rather than putting people in relationships that, on the basic attraction, like, and respect level with each other, you know, have that conversation beforehand. You feel me?
allowing these ladies to take some pot shots, I'm not going to be a stationary target. So I'm going to get up and talk to the ladies in the audience.
And while you're doing that, we'll talk about you.
Okay.
Okay, now what?
This is the biggest mistake black men made. You allowed your black woman to speak on your behalf, and you did not defend yourself and speak up for yourself.
Part does sex play in all of this stuff, and how has that changed in the 80s? The sex roles.
The male-female relationship is, for the most part, a sexual relationship. The purpose of the relationship traditionally has been procreation, which is the end result of the act of sex. So the relationship is defined by how the two people in it carry out their sexual identity. What risks are they willing to take? How do they define themselves? What are the limits of that relationship? However that sensuality plays itself out in the relationship. These are the kinds of questions that
What do you mean by, what does that mean by sexual identity? There's only two identities, male and female. And I wonder if she's talking about, like, because in a dynamic between male and female and sex, the man is the more dominant one. The female is the most submission one. She's the one getting conquered or dick down. I don't care if she's riding. You know what I'm saying? But I wonder if that's what she's referring to.
As a part of the sexuality of a relationship.
What kinds of problems do partners encounter as a result of the misuse of sex? I know some examples right now, of course I wouldn't name them on the air, of women who use sex, their sexual being to their own benefit. And then I know of men too, who use that to dominate.
See, this is how they manipulated you dudes with the sex thing, right? She goes, well, but men use it too. Well, men are supposed to be dominant in the bedroom, right? That's the main reason why black women say, yo, I cheated on the dude because he didn't dominate me in the bedroom and blah, 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 blah. See, Shannon Sharp choking that white chick, or choking any chick for that matter, if Shannon Sharp is the way he is, right, dominant the way he was, if he wasn't being dominant, they would say something's wrong with him. That's what a lot of y'all not picking up. If Shannon Sharp was not the way how big and brolic he looked and like a Negro that he looks like, if he was having sex soft and he wasn't being dominant, he was being weak, y'all would criticize him for that and say he was being weak.
Women.
Some the kinds of issues that I'm hearing coming into the office have to do with women being sometimes afraid in that bedroom to ask for what it is that they want from their mate in the bedroom. I have several couples with whom I'm currently working who are struggling with the man's anger at the woman being assertive, for example, or aggressive in that relationship, or the woman struggling with guilt about that somehow or another she's doing something wrong or she's doing something inappropriate. Yet these same women will go out of that home into the business office and be very aggressive and very assertive.
You're not supposed to be aggressive with your man in the bedroom. Like, bro, this is why I titled that Black Men, hardworking black men deserve a lot better than what you're getting today. Because what you're getting today is what was being created then. Like, bro, you're not supposed to be in the bedroom. And she's speaking very vague. She's not giving any specifics or details, right? The women are coming home and they're being aggressive and assertive to that black man. That's a no-no. He's not supposed to accept nor tolerate that. And mind you, they're not speaking about what the women are, how the women are using their sexuality to manipulate the dudes, right? A lot of women would do is that they'll use their sexuality or they deny that man of sex and to use it as a reward, like a Scooby snack. Shout out to the Angry Man, right? She'll use it like a Scooby snack, right? So say she wants him to take care of the kids or she wants him to do something he don't want to do. Well, she just deny him sex. But on the other hand, if the man denies, being his patriarchal role, protecting and providing, he'll be deemed looked at as abusive. See what I'm saying? And not doing his role or being consistent. That's what a lot of that's why a lot of millennial men are turned off from that, because we watch how that dynamic play out. But they went right into how basically she's saying that black women want to be dominant in that bedroom, and the black women who are complaining about it says that he won't let me dominate him in the bedroom. This is a way to get you black men to accept dominating black women. Okay, she go to the work and she'll be assertive and dominate at work, but she'll come home and shoot you. This is a soft way of them trying to usurp your throne in your house, because they're making more money than you, or they're whatever, making more money than you, or claim to be, and because you won't allow them to do that now, it's a problem.
As they carry out their business tasks, and then there's a conflict when they have to come back into the home with that.
Okay, now we're going to hear from the ladies themselves.
Yes, Jackie, we have a question right here in the audience that deals with that very point.
I'd like to know how you've been dealing with black men that have a problem dealing with professional black women, and the fact that they feel very insecure in dealing with them and letting them be a whole total person.
Are you asking how I, as a woman, deal with it, or how I hear it played out in my practice?
Yes. How do you counsel the men that come to you that you find that have this problem?
If you're a traditional black man, see how they phrasing that word, brother? They saying that because you will not tolerate that, and you're a more traditional, dominant, patriarchal man, and you won't tolerate that, they're phrasing it as you being intimidating. It's not that the nigga's intimidating with you. It's either you're being disrespectful towards him or you're trying to dominate him, and he will not allow you to do that. And in that time, if he tried to get aggressive with you, you're going to say he abused you. So he just walked away and left you alone. But they'll use words like, yo, he's intimidating, or he's trying to compete with me. And you brothers sat there and tried to fix this. You boomer men. And you try to compete, and you boomer men train the younger black men to be happy wife, happy life type of nigga. So you rewarded women like this that should have never gotten a relationship from you in the first place by giving her a relationship.
Okay. What I'm hearing in the practice is that men are intimidated by a woman that they need to take a quieter position at their side. The women are not taking a quieter position. They're demanding their own structure. They're demanding that the man be quiet at their side sometimes. And the men are angry about it, but the women are saying, that's your problem. I don't have to be responsible for your anger. You're responsible to negotiate that anger with me. And between the two of us, we have to work together for the relationship.
No. There's no working together with that. Again, that's the mistake you boomer men made. There's no working together with that. With what she just said. You want the man to take a quieter side while you rule and dominate over him. And a lot of you black men at that time capitulated and said, happy wife, happy life, and chose that stupid shit, causing us the problem now. Women like that should have never got a relationship, period. And then you had children by them, and then they raised those children to be disrespectful of black men. This is what we got today.
Relationship to survive. And then what happens within the therapy hour is that we negotiate that. How he can work out his anger, how she can work out her anger, and how their hurt feelings can come together because of the bond that goes on between them, so the relationship can continue.
They should have just ended that relationship right there.
that's a point that perhaps we need to explore a little bit further, only because Black women, for the most part, have not been homebound through the generations. And so that as we move up in the corporate structure, I'm sure that that's putting a lot of pressure on the relationships. But we're going to discuss.
So let me say that, right? Black people coming from, I want to say, slavery, then Jim Crow, and then the sharecropping. Sharecropping, that was the 1877 compromise or whatsoever. So for the most part, Black women worked 50-50 with their man. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have this traditional role like the white women per se. And even with the white women, right? There were a lot of Italian women that worked, Irish women that worked, Jewish women that worked. There are plenty of European women that work. There were American white women that work 50-50. Right? So what Black women keep doing is that they keep idolizing the white woman that A, was on top of the food chain because she got the best type of dude. B, a higher class of white women. They were idolizing high class to high middle class or upper class type of women, right? Second, you were in a country where you just came out of slavery. And your man is trying to fight for whatever piece of resources he could fight for. And he did fight for it. Black Panther Party, Nation of Islam, civil rights conscious community whatsoever. And then y'all came to Black men with that feminist shit. Because the dominant society realized, shit, if the Black man is at the helm of patriarchy and capitalism and he get his woman in line to follow his structure, y'all could be a dynamic unit. So then now he just deployed, taught you bitches feminism, and you Black women accepted the damn feminism.
That when we come back. But right now we're going to take a break. So please stay with us for Women's Views on Men. And I'm going to throw it right
to the American society that promotes this ideal white woman. I think they're
talked about more. Maybe I can become more comfortable with the women. And I don't have any real personal problem with that, but I just like to hear talked about more. Maybe I can be
up already with this question, I'm sure. Go ahead.
Yes, I like to know why are Black men gravitating toward white women, and I don't have any real personal problem with that.
Are you seriously asking that question? Why are Black men gravitating towards white women? Maybe because at the time they were more traditional and you were not. So for as feministic as a lot of white women, as a few white women were, they were still being traditional to their men. And you were not. You were becoming hostile to your men. You were trying to you're saying the reason in this show.
That, but I just like to hear talked about more. Maybe I can
Let's say
become
what
more
that
comfortable with
bitch,
the
how
whole
yellow
issue.
bitch got to say.
I think there are two answers to that, actually. One is the cultural answer to it. We're all socialized into a society, into the American society, that promotes this ideal white woman figure as the one to be sought after. And now with some release from some of the tenets of oppression in our society, men feel freer, and I hear Black men saying this sometimes, they feel freer to pursue whatever's out there. And so they see themselves as pursuing a person, not a racial figure. And yet you'll find men who habitually pursue women who all are either very light-skinned or white, or who carry on a lot of the physical characteristics that this ideal model is supposed to be.
But you're light-skinned.
And the men won't define it as a racial issue, but I think it's hard to ignore the racial overtones. The other part of it, though, is the exercising of a freedom that's supposed to exist in our society to pick and choose whomever you wish as a partner. What part of the problem for the Black woman is that too many of our Black men are being channeled into self-destructive and socially unacceptable parts of our society, so they're not as available for us. And then somehow or another, the Black woman does not seem to be as available to men of other races and other ethnic groups. So it seems to be an imbalance in that pursuit.
Well, what is this?
What? Why did she just come over here and tell that lie? Hold on. Loving. Hold on. Let me go to Chat GBT right quick. Chat. Hey, Chat GBT, based on facts and objectivity, absentee of the vote, tell me the truth. Were black women always available to white men? Because if you refer to cases like the Loving versus Virginia, a black woman had no issue getting into relationships with white dudes, and white men had no issue getting into relationships with them to the point where they went to the Supreme Court to fight for it. Black men never really had that opportunity. Black men were always demonized as gorillas, as negative, as these black creatures that if we touch black white women, like they were going to become some type of creature or some shit, right? But for the most part, the lie that's being told is that black men were pursuing light-skinned women or white women because that is the standard of beauty in America or at the time. But at the same time, nobody acknowledged that black women were pursuing white men because they were the standard of masculinity in America at the time. And white men had access to them, and black women had access to the white dudes, right? You always saw, you refer back to the old talk shows, you always you always see how black women were talking about how, which now we know is a lie, that black men were lacking and white men were better suited for them. But black men never had that opportunity to do so because, like I said again, it was like a witch hunt. Niggas got hung for looking at a white woman. You see what I'm saying? As that kind of aggression didn't happen to black women when they were with a white man. So give me the facts and break it down for me. See, what ChatGPT does is it takes the sources from the internet and brings it here. Oh, let's go here. Legal and historical reality. White male access to black women. Colonial America and slavery. Let me see if this is on StreamYard. Yes, it is. Okay, let's go. White men had nearly total access to black women. Not consensual, but the power. Enslaved black women were routinely raped, bred, and sexually exploited by white men without legal consequences. Laws like Partus Squitter Ventrum, 1662, Virginia made the child of a black woman also enslaved, incentivizing white male sexual access. There was no protection for black women from this abuse, legally or socially. Reconstruction and Jim Crow. White men continued to engage sexually with black women through no more covertly. Black men, however, could be lynched or killed for so much as being accused of interacting sexually or romantically with a white woman. Emmett Till is a chilling example. No known cases of white women being punished for being with black men, like black men were punished for being with white women. Black women white men were not subject to lynching, nor white men punished for being with them. So that's a lie she told, right up there. Cultural double standards, interracial desire. The white woman forbidden fruit narrative has dominated pop culture, but only when black male is the one desiring. Meanwhile, white men's access to black women was not taboo in the same way. In fact, in certain circles, especially liberal or bohemian ones, it was even fetishized. Talk shows, 1980s to 1990s, like Oprah, Donahue, cited Jesse Raphael, showcased black women openly stating, "Black men ain't no good. White men treat us better." The kind of open degeneration of black men was never mirrored the other way around. Black men rarely had major platforms to say a white woman treat us better than black women without backlash. Third, Loving versus Virginia, 1967. Misunderstood narrative. Let me start by saying this. Black women know that the black women that are speaking today, they know all these things. They just think that the public and black men are stupid enough, and they're playing to the unspoken Negro contract that you must listen to black women, and anything that black men say is a lie. But they know these things exist. They just think you're stupid and you're not going to go look it up. I don't know. I guess they're playing. They're trying to look for maybe they're trying to erase history or revise history or something. I have no idea. Right? The case legalized interracial marriage nationwide, but the couple was a white man and a black woman. Mildred Loving, although part black and Native American, was read socially as a black woman. Richard Loving, a white man, was protected by the court and by public sympathy. Had the situation been reversed, black man, white man, it's highly doubtful the case would have carried the same sympathetic tone at the time. Remember that movie? I think it's what, Thurgood Marshall, played by Chadwick Boseman, where the white woman was cheating on her man with the black dude, and the black dude was about to get hung or sent to prison. That's a good example. Black men were demonized in media as violent, hypersexual, criminal, especially if they were seen as threats to white women. Examples: Birth of a Nation, 1915, 1980s crime shows, 1990s news coverage. Black women were never given that same predator image of being with white men. In fact, they were often presented as upgrading or finding love across color lines. That's a quote. The hypocrisy and narrative control. When black men date non-black women, they're accused of self-hate, colorism, or betrayal. When black women date non-black men, especially white men, is often framed as empowering or level up. Shows like Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, and social trends on platforms like TikTok and Instagram push this dynamic heavily in the 2010s and beyond. Conclusion. The truth based on facts. You're not imagining things. Black women had greater cultural and legal safety engaging with white men than black men did with white women, especially historical. White men have always had access to black women, first through violence and ownership, later through liberal and social dynamics and sexual politics. Meanwhile, black men have been the most policed and punished group in interracial dynamics, particularly with white women. The narrative that black men abandoned the black women for whiteness is half the truth that ignores the equal or great pursuit of whiteness by some black women. The institutional protection white men have always enjoyed. Let me see this. Can you break down and go further into the narrative that black men abandoned black women for whiteness is half the truth? Can you break that down and go into that a bit further? Okay. Post civil rights upward mobility. Some black men who gained status as well athletes, entertainers, businessmen chose non-black or white partners. These relationships became highly visible. Media, pop culture, Hollywood often portrayed successful black men with non-black women. Wesley Snipes, O.J. Simpson, Kobe Bryant, reinforcing the image. I find this in Jamaica too, right? In Jamaica, right? If you are a dark-skinned brother and you become a status, you get a pretty Benz. What I'm called Pretty Benz and a Browning. I believe Buju Banton gets in trouble for a song called Pretty Browning, right? And he might have to come back and make our next song, Same Love, Dark Skin Black Woman. All right. Media, pop culture, Hollywood often portrayed successful black men with non-black women. Black feminist critique influenced French voices in 1970s and 1990s like Michael Wallace or Bell Hooks positioned black men as complicit in patriarchy, saying they saw validation from white society, including through white women. Yo, this is how they synergized patriarchy and white men. This is how they manipulated you into not having your own patriarchy, black men, right? Talk shows and gossip media. Black women publicly criticize black men on higher platforms for choosing white women, turning personal reference into community betrayal. But here's a trick. This narrative ignores context, scale, and reciprocal behavior of black women. Ooh, bomba clad. What the narrative leaves out, the number never support the claim. According to the U.S. Census data, across decades, the vast majority of black men have always married black women. As of 2020, 85% of married black men had black wives. Interracial marriage among black men is rare, though more visible in media. White men intermarry more overall than black men do. So the abandoned claim is not backed by data, just by visibility bias. Reciprocity is real but ignored. Black women have also pursued and married white men, particularly since the late 20th century. In modern media and social media, black women with white men are celebrated with hashtags like swirl, black girl magic, and interracial gold. Mind, this is concepts that's coming from black women, right? Characters like Olivia Pope and Elisa Keating are praised for having white lovers. No public outrage or abandonment critique follow these cases. It's often seen as progress. So the same behavior is shamed in men and celebrated in women. That's not the truth. That's the narrative engineering. Systematic forces, welfare policies in the 1960s, 70s pushed black men out of homes, marriage penalties, AFDC rules, feminist ideology, especially as adopted by middle class black women, refrained black masculinity as toxic and non essential. Remember, they were saying they didn't need black men, strong and independent, right? Economic disenfranchisement made many black men undesirable under rising hypergamy women, seeking status through men. Culture propaganda elevated whiteness as beauty and power for both genders. Yet only black men are accused of seeking validation through whiteness. The black female pursuit of white masculinity is rarely criticized. Because remember, what's not talked about by that damn therapist that you saw is that white men, for the most part, this is why they're angry at Shannon Sharp, right? White men at that time, they had the more patriarchal financial power. So they were seen as the standard of masculinity and success. And black women pursued them for that reason too. They just brought it out with the hypergamy. But like I said, when a black woman is with a white man, I forgot that dark skinned chick that was with Dolph Lundgren, right? That's seen as leveling up in progress. Meanwhile, when black men do it, it's seen as being a sellout or being he hates himself or he's being destructive, right? Mind you, that's part of the unspoken Negro contract. And really, truly, what that says is that they want to prevent black men from being patriarchal. Meanwhile, black women get to turn on or betray black men for the white patriarchal structure system. That's what that means, right? And it's very manipulative in the words and language that they use. And this is the program that has been taught. This is why it's difficult for a lot of you niggas to break it today, right? Black men couldn't safely be with white women. They face death, violence, or prison. Black women could be with white men even during Jim Crow with far fewer consequences. That disapproves the idea that only black men chase whiteness. In reality, black women had more actual access to it. What's the whole truth? Some black men did choose white women, especially when they equated whiteness with beauty, safety, or status. Some black women chose white men, especially when they equated them with provision, emotional maturity, and upward mobility. You hear black women say that today on TikTok. Media only demonize black men for it, never black women. Systematic oppression fractured black male-female unity, and these choices were both survival-based and aspirational, but not one-sided. Final truth bomb. Black men didn't abandon black women. Both were manipulated, but only black men were scapegoated for it. The abandonment narrative is less about truth and more about guilt, control, and power play, framing men as traitors while excusing or even glorifying similar female behavior. This is why I say black men need to deserve a lot more than what you've been getting, right? Let's go back to her.
Black women in terms of finding, in quotation marks, those good men.
Part of what it means is that the black woman has to be real clear on what it is that she wants and what she defines as a good man, and then be as limitless as she can in the pursuit of that good man.
That is the problem, because
one of the things that I hear, and this is coming from some of my work with adolescents, is that the adolescent female now is very aggressive in her pursuit of a male. And she does not limit herself by any boundaries at all. So if she sees a guy she wants, she goes and gets him. And she doesn't care what his color is, as long as he meets some criteria that she has. And women in the 20s, 30s, and 40-year age range are not being quite that aggressive. And so they sit waiting patiently for this good black guy to come knock on the door.
That's not what they're doing. And I just broke that lie she just told.
And say, here I am. And he's been.
So you know how it's funny how black women are allowed to define the type of black man they want, but black men are vilified for saying they want a submissive black woman in the house or traditional.
Is he out looking?
So the adolescent is the woman of the year 2000.
The adolescent is the woman of the year 2000, and she is going to be something else.
We should do another show.
That's a crazy prediction because it came to fruition.
Well, I'm going to stay out of this, but I do have another question here. Yes.
You a scared nigga, bro. A lot of y'all black men of the boomer generation, y'all was scared Negroes, bro. Scared motherfuckers, scary motherfuckers. And y'all some nerve to be talking about us younger niggas not doing this and not doing that. Y'all fucked up the game with y'all scary asses.
Hi, what do you suggest would be a good approach to stimulate conversation, positive conversation about sensitive subjects without irritating your mate?
I don't have any problem with irritating your mate, so that's there's nothing wrong with him being irritated or stirred up. Are you asking me how to start the conversation?
Yes.
I would like to be able to talk with you about this topic. Can we sit and talk about it?
What subject do you have in mind?
And you black men sat there and allowed them to say, let's talk about this subject, and bam, they just added that feministic Marxist bullshit into your ears, and y'all niggas accepted it. Like that nigga you see on stage. I'm not gonna play this whole video. I want to actually get into my shit. All right. This is my stuff, and I'm gonna put it as the full thing. So, strong, independent black women. So I did a breakdown of the different phases and what went down during those times and how it got to today. Right. Strong, independent black woman. Origins of the modern strong, independent black woman archetype. 1960s to the 1970s. Government programs, feminist ideology. Welfare state policies. Hold on, let me get the banner off this shit. Welfare state policies in the 1960s under programs like Lyndon B. Johnson, war on poverty. Government aid was offered to poor black families, but only if no able-bodied man was in the household. Translation: the state became the provider in the place of the black man. Now, mind you, during this time, the only way if you're war on poverty, right? Around this time, I think this was during the Vietnam War that was kicking off, and a lot of drugs was being flooded in the community, and black men coming home from the Vietnam War, fucked up in the game. Mental issues. If you watch that movie Dead Presidents, I think it's called, with Keith David and Chris Tucker and the other brother that was in it, like, bro. And then you saw what happened. The influxuation of the lower tier black men, like the pimp and the player, got into the community. And a lot of them niggas that came from the Vietnam War, from what they saw, PTSD, they had to take drugs to alleviate the pain. It was just a sad time, but let's go on here. Translation: the state became the provider in the place of the black man. So my thing is, if you're trying to combat the war on poverty, and you know that the black man is the way out of it, why not provide programs and trade programs, construction programs, and trade skills, and college programs, free college programs, to help black men get in a state of financial freedom, so that he can position his family in a better state. But then again, that wasn't the point. The point was to destroy and destabilize black male patriarchy, because they could have easily done that. And then Joe Biden, instead of him coming out with some programs, he comes up with the crime bill that further fucked a lot of you black men over. And then Bill Clinton's NAFTA agreement. In fact, women learned that having a man in the home could mean losing benefits. This economically incentivized female-headed households. Which really, if you were getting government assistance from Lyndon B. Johnson was the head of your household. It wasn't female ran. Second wave feminism. White-led feminists pushed for independence from men, rejecting traditional roles. Black women were invited into this movement, but the dynamics were different. White women were escaping suburban domestically. Black women were being invited to reject black men, whom they were told was their oppressor, even though he had no systematic power over them. This is why I don't trust white women and the black women that follow them. Because white women, you ugly white bitches whispered into black women's ear to turn against our structure. And you were really under the hand of your white men. And white men, I really don't. This is why it's a hard time for me to, be in these spaces and try to, link with white dudes, because y'all caused this shit. You sent your white women over here to destroy us. And now that those same white women are destroying you, now you want to link up and shake hands and let's help and kumbaya? This has to be addressed and your sins has to be acknowledged. But this is why I don't trust a white woman to be in a relationship with a brother. I don't think she's the answer for black men. I honestly think that Maria is the answer for black men. Because Maria was not, but even though feminism hit them, they weren't dumb enough to turn on their Latin men. But black women were. And white women programmed them. That's why I don't trust white women. Shout out to the angry man. I respect you, but I do not trust the white woman with the brother. I trust Maria with the brother. So by the 1970s, many black women were getting the message. You don't need a man to raise kids. You don't need a man to lead. You're strong. You're enough. You don't need to submit to patriarchy, even black. And you black boomer men, you allow that to happen. 1980s to 1990s, media engineered the image. My fault. TV shows like 227, Our Men, The Cosby Show, Living Single, and A Different World began pushing narratives of upwardly mobile, college-educated black women who didn't depend on the man. I told Izzy Band that shit. The night we had a big argument, I told this nigga that shit. He didn't want to listen. These women often had careers, friends, and ambitions with or without a man. Men were sometimes present, but often played as an unserious secondary or disposable. Music by the 1990s, songs like Destiny. Didn't Angry Man have an argument with Izzy Band about that a couple of weeks back? By the 1990s, songs like Destiny's Child, Independent Woman, and TLC. No, this was Mr. Fantastic. I wish I had made this slide for Mr. Fantastic on the show you had. TLC's No Scrubs laid it down plain. If you don't have money, car, or status, you're not worthy of attention. I buy my own diamonds. I buy my own thing. This is what black women were saying during the time, fellas, during the 80s and the 90s. Meanwhile, you were fighting with Nation of Islam, the Black Panthers, conscious community, to set up programs so that black women don't have to turn to that. This is what they were doing. Hollywood tropes, the angry black woman or sassy professional became staples in movies. These characters were often resistant to male leadership, emotionally hardening, centered on career and self-fulfillment rather than family structure or submission. Tyler Perry, anybody? You had Tyler Perry, The House of Pain, with a brother that was a firefighter, fire chief at that, who was in charge of a fire station, risking his life to go fight fires, and he had a wife called Aunt Ella disrespecting him and emasculating. And I'm so sick of Tyler Perry putting those movies out of black men being these demonic figure. You know what? I'm just sick of you niggas. I'm sick of you black men that pander to these black women. I'm sick of you niggas. Because if it's not black men, black women, that's the problem. Going on these TV shows and going on these social media talking shit about black men, it's you simp niggas that do it. And then shame black men like Dr. Umar Johnson, shame her brother for finding a better woman outside of his culture. Fuck y'all niggas. 2000s to present, full brand conversation, social media and pop culture. The term strong, independent black woman who don't need a man became both a meme and a mantra. It was repeated so often that it became part of the black womanhood expected identity. Academia and media. The archetype was reinforced in books, lectures, podcasts, and Netflix specials. Submitting to a man or embracing patriarchy was seen as anti-feminist or pandering to oppression. Meanwhile, they expect you to pander to their feminist bitch ass. Key point. The independent black woman didn't start in the cotton fields. She was manufactured politically and culturally between the 1960s and the 1980s. That's where the Serafina virus started. I'm trying to give you the character and the history of it, right? What began as survival during slavery and Jim Crow was turned into a brand. They're pushed as empowerment, even if it ultimately worked to undermine black nuclear family structure and male leadership. How did black men try to address the rising tension with black women? Feminism. This is the mistakes y'all made, boomer men. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, here it is. Civil rights era, 1950s to the 1960s. Male focus. The black men like MLK, Malcolm X, and others were largely fighting for the whole community. Jobs, education, voting rights, dignity. This is black men taking a risk and lost their lives fighting this white government to bring benefits to black women. And that still is not addressed or acknowledged. The inclusion of women. They expected women to support the structure as wives, organizers, mothers, which many did. But even there, cracks started to show. Some black women began aligning with white feminism, especially in academia and leftist circles. Black men did not respond aggressively to this split. They focused on racial justice first, assuming gender unity would follow. Sacrifice. Black men didn't fully address the ideological shift happening among black women. They ignored or downplayed feminism infiltration because they were focused on external white supremacists and threats. And that was your biggest mistake, black men, of that time. You didn't focus on feminism. A lot of you black women men was like, yo, that's just women talk. That's just how white women talk. And I guess y'all follow the trope as if we hold ourselves accountable and we fix ourselves, black women are gonna automatically follow. But it didn't even work that. The same shit y'all telling these niggas today. If you black men step your game up and you improve and you level up, the black woman will automatically hold herself accountable to y'all. It didn't work then, and it's not working now. And black men at this time, they lost their lives fighting for a lot of these things. And like I said, like I put, y'all didn't address the shift. Y'all ignored it. Y'all still ignore it to this day, right? The argument acknowledges it. Tommy Sotomayor acknowledges it. I think Kevin Samuels acknowledges it. Anton Downing acknowledges it. The Nation of Islam, Black Nationalist Movement, 1960s to the 1970s. Traditional roles were promoted. NOI taught that the man is the protector and provider, but yet didn't teach that he was the woman is to be cherished and submitted to her husband's righteous leadership. But to the Nation of Islam, y'all taught the men that they were just individuals and that the woman was the nation. You didn't say that, man. When you teach a man, he becomes a patriarchal leader and has that household. You taught that's going to lead that nation. You taught that when you teach a man, you teach an individual, but when you teach a woman, you teach a nation. And then you put that nation above the head of the household. That's not how that works. There's a reason why there's presidents and there's a village chief. Many black women rejected this, calling it sexist or patriarchal. So you had feminism in your Nation of Islam, and y'all still let that shit exist. Even if it offered them protection, identity, and respect. So the Nation of Islam brothers, they fought hard. And then y'all pandered to them. Y'all made their position role more important to keep them. You should have never did that. Sacrifice to keep black women involved. Many conscious or nationalist men began softening their message. Downplaying patriarchy or elevating black queenship in the ways that overinflated female authority and diluted male leadership. What I said earlier. This gave rise to matriarchal nationalism, a strange fusion of black power rhetoric with feminist undertones, where women were told they were goddesses and mothers of civilization, often without accountability to male leadership. How the fuck can you be a mother of civilization if you don't have that male sperm to impregnate you, or seed you, or guide you or lead you? But again, this is the Nation of Islam. 1980s to the 1990s, the compromise era. Men turned to cultural appeasement. Conscious rappers like Common, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, and black poets. Yeah, I said your names, nigga. I'm gonna call you niggas out. Poe started uplifting black women in their art, but often at the expense of holding them accountable. Mainstream black. So now, you know how Angry Man talks about how black culture doesn't have a god or deity to represent them? Now, at least with Caribbean black culture, they have things like Shango, Papa Legba, basically the African Caribbean pantheons. But even in Caribbean culture, especially in Jamaican culture, they reject that and see it as some evil voodoo. So but at least in their culture, they have options, like with Rastafarian movement, with Haile Selassie. So at least they have options that look black like them. But in Black American culture, unfortunately, y'all just have the white male image, unfortunately. But when you have the white male image being more patriarchal, like in with Jesus Christ in Black America, being more and like this is it. Even though we have black male deities in the Caribbean, the white male image still overrides that. So it still exists over there. It's just that there's still things to conflict and fight it back. But in Black American culture, if you have your black male leaders that are simping and now uplifting the woman above himself without holding them accountable or giving them any structure or patriarchy, now the black women are going to look at black men as being lower tier than them because you're positioning yourself as that. Meanwhile, the white Jesus structure is still patriarchal. The white men are still patriarchal. So that's why they look at y'all as peasants and they look at the white man as God, because you made yourself look like a peasant. Just saying. Mainstream black male leaders, at least in Caribbean culture, they got people like Marcus Garvey as their thing. And by the way, Black American culture rejected Marcus Garvey from a long time ago. They've been rejecting Marcus Garvey. No, I'm lying. Marcus Garvey was a capitalist. Most of y'all black culture is Marxism and communism. So you're not going to accept Marcus Garvey because it's embedded in you to not accept him. Mainstream black male leaders, pastors, scholars, entertainers would often overpraise black women as backbone of the community, blame systematic racism exclusively for family breakdown, avoid confronting the impact of feminist ideology in public spaces. This is your black men. Sacrifice. Black men silenced themselves. Many adopted a posture of agreeability, trying to win her back by being softer, more emotional, or deferring to her trauma, rather than holding their line as patriarchs and builders. So what you black men, boomer men did, bro. Simp culture. Emotional appeasement, 2000s to present. Black men in media, Steve Harvey types, yep, I'm calling you out. Post messages like, if you step up more, maybe she'll submit. Maybe? This is the manipulation right here. Hold on, my bad. This is the manipulation right here. Maybe she'll submit. You make sure not to give a guarantee, and you make sure to say maybe. Black women are the most disrespected. Put her on the pedestal. How the fuck can you say black women are most disrespected when black men were the ones facing the bullets and the dying and the death? Are you kidding me? Real men don't lead; they follow her lead. This is what you niggas said. I remember growing up hearing you niggas say these shit. Boomer men. You failed in the part of leadership that you failed in is by simping and putting your black woman on a damn pedestal and training the younger generation of black men to follow you. That's where you failed in your leadership. This created a generation of men who rejected traditional masculinity. In exchange for emotional access, sexual cooperation, or social peace. Sacrifice, masculine standards got redefined as toxicity. And many black men accepted this to avoid being labeled misogynistic or traitors to their race. Summary of sacrifices black men made: relinquishing patriarchy, lost household authority and cultural leadership, appeased feminism, abandoned traditional family structure, uplifted women without balance, lost respect as protectors and builders, avoided ideological conflict, enabled female-centered agendas to dominate, suppressed male-centered spaces, lost generational masculine transmission. This is where you black men made the mistake. Black men tried to fix the community by overcorrecting, by appeasing, and by refusing to draw hard lines between black unity and feminist ideology. And many still carry the burden of that silence today, walking on eggshells in house they built but no longer lead. See, my message is to the younger black men that are millennials and Gen Z and even Gen X. You deserve a lot better because you all that you did, the women don't appreciate it. And even though these are mistakes you made, you still tried to do something, and they don't appreciate you for that. They're now shaming you, and they just shaming you, and the shame on TikTok has gotten greater and bigger and worse. You got black women on these spaces saying that you're gay if you're straight. I saying that a straight black male is a red flag. That's what they're saying. And the reason why they're saying that is because the straight black male is still patriarchal. It still goes along with traditionalism. So they're really attacking you, brothers. You feel what I'm saying? And boomer men, you gotta take responsibility for this. You have to. You have to. Nation of Islam, you gotta take responsibility for this, man. Let me put myself back up here. In conclusion, black men, you don't deserve the treatment you get today. You don't deserve it. The women don't deserve you. There are plenty of different type of women out there for you. Black women is out there. I don't trust white women like that because they started the problems we have, but I do trust that the Latin woman is the best for you. Let me go into Passport Bros right quick. Masculinity in the Passport Bros movement, even though a lot of black men are shaming you, especially the dating coaches. Masculinity is traditionally more form. It's a traditional form. Oh, my bad. Masculinity in its traditional form is about leadership, provision, and protection, strategic decision making, creating and upholding legacy and order, refusing to be dominated or dictated to by systems that dishonor their manhood. Right. The weakness argument from critics or dating coaches. Right. Some argue that leaving instead of fixing the issue at home is cowardly or defeatist. Critics claim you cannot listen. If you have other black men in the community that are players, max, and pimps, poisoning the market, curating the women to rebel and be rebellious of traditionalism, you can't fix that bullshit. So if you Mac play and then coaches niggas keep fucking it up by promoting smash and pass and open relationships, you cannot shame the niggas to stay and fix it because you keep creating or helping to create the problem. Critics claims it's running away instead of confronting the cultural war in the U.S. How do you fix a war where other black men are providing tools to work against you to fight it? That's working against you. There's a layer of shame tossed at them for not being able to handle strong, independent American women. Independent. They don't need you, dummies. But often that shame is deflection from women who feel rejected, controlled by those invested in keeping men under dysfunctional system, mockery from other men who have already capitulated to a broken dating market and feel threatened by men who won't play the game. What does that mean? That means that a lot of you men, because you get a free box economy and you don't have to be traditional anymore to get box, you're not threatened by the traditional men for leaving because they won't support that traditional dating market. In other words, the traditional men that are leaving that y'all niggas say are lame and square and that the women don't want anyway, they're not providing that structure anymore there or rewarding those bad women with structure. So now that the structure is leaving and it's threatening a lot of your box economy because you don't want the women to say, oh shit, our structure is leaving. Let's step a game up and be more traditional now. So that's what that means. The strategic masculine view, Passport Bros perspective, they're exercising agency to go where they are honored and not merely tolerated. For Black American men to go against other Black American men that are going overseas to find better women, you're taking away their autonomy, which is the one of the core traits of masculinity. So any dating coach that's claiming masculinity in the game this and manhood that, and you're going against the passport bros, you're going against their masculine trait of agency and autonomy. It's a rejection of disrespect, not a rejection of American women per se. Which it is. Black American men are tired of Black American women disrespecting them. So why should they stay there and accept it and reward them by dating them? Even the good Black women fall under that. It's a rejection of disrespect, not a rejection of American women per se. In masculine terms, that's not weak. That's pragmatic and intentional. Men have always migrated throughout history to find better land, better trade, better wives, better future. That's not weakness, that's legacy building. Vikings did it. This is how America got started, right? America got started because of that thing, because of that core trait. A lot of civilizations got started because of that. Genghis Khan, right? You look up the history of Taekwondo or Harando and how that started, and how I forgot what group of people that was that migrated from Russia into North Korea or where it is now, right? This is what it is. Men have always done this. This is how civilizations get started. This is how land get populated. Vikings, if they went on a boat to find new lands to conquer, and they threw out a damn raven, and if that raven didn't come back, or if that raven did come back, it's like they were screwed because that raven didn't find land to land on, right? Bottom line, objective masculine lens. Leaving a system that dishonors your masculinity isn't weak. Staying in a system that dishonors you and doing nothing about it, that's weak. Pastor bros are running, they're recalibrating. See, when Black men try to do something by holding the Black woman accountable, you niggas, you dating coach niggas said that they were complaining and you shamed them out of doing that. So how could they fix a community that you shamed them out of fixing and then blame them for not fixing it? Passport bros aren't running, they're recalibrating. They have assessed the cost benefit, observed the outcomes of men who stayed and chosen a path that aligns with their masculine values of respect, family building, legacy. That's not just masculine, it's strategic. That's like saying that the perfect analogy that fits that. If I see 11 men walk into a burning mill and they burn up and die, why am I going to be the tough nigga to burn up and die? That's what that is. What my role as a man when the structure itself is hostile to my leadership? That's my quote, nigga, said by yours truly. You can't lead someone committed to being unled. Let's keep it 100. Independent by definition means not dependent on authority or control of another. So when a woman calls herself strong and independent woman, she's telling you, I don't need your leadership. I don't trust your vision. I don't want to submit to your structure. Nation of Islam, Black men of the 60s and the 70s, that's the mistake you made right there. When your Black women were saying they don't need you or you're strong and independent, you should have charged them to the game instead of trying to simp or try to prove to them why they should stay with you or capitulate to them. So then what exactly are you fixing? You can't repair a covenant with someone who already tore up the contract and burned the blueprints. That's the social contract that I'm referring to. It's hubris to believe men can fix anything without the needed tools, right? The tools, the niggas y'all call sassy, like the angry man that are willing to argue with these women and be masculine, you call them niggas sassy. You call Aaron the plumber sassy. When they're utilizing masculine tools to get the shit right or expose the bad women so you don't have to deal with them. But y'all take those tools away from them and then tell them you can fix them without those tools. The illusion of a cultural fix. People love to say you should stay and fix the culture. But ask them with what tools? Under what legal and social conditions? With what partner who doesn't even agree with your leadership structure? What I mean to say is that the legal structure as it is takes away the tools from the men and puts all the power into the women to destroy the men, which is what you call the loop model that puts the man as the aggressor and the woman as the victim, no matter what situation. So now if you're in a situation and the woman puts her hands on you, and even if you didn't fight back, but you're the one obviously bruised or damaged, A white male police officer is going to come over there and lock you up and put you in jail and ask what did you do to deserve it. And that's why I don't fucking like white dudes in this context. That's why to you white police officers, every time a white woman fucks up your life, I laugh and chuckle. Because you go to a black man's house, see that he's going through the similar thing and laugh at him and then put him in jail over the same situation that you went through. You don't fix rebellion with therapy. You don't fix disobedience with patience. And you damn sure don't fix a cultural gunocracy with compliance. Which is what a lot of you boomer men and Nation of Islam brothers try to do. Men of any nation, if they want to fix the problem, they must acknowledge and identify who and what's the cause. We're in a gunocracy, not a gunocracy. What you're saying is, this is what I'm saying. This ain't just gunocracy, gunocentrism, it's gunocracy, meaning feminism is backed by the state. Your household is backed by law enforcement, family court, and welfare system, and HR departments. If you try to assert, it's hubris to believe that you as a man, individual, can override or stop your woman from doing this. The only way you can stop your woman from doing this is to walk on eggshells with her. Or to really go out there and find a chick that's not written by it, that's not programmed by this. Which in America, that's like finding a needle in a haystack. If you try to assert masculinity without her approval, the state steps in. She don't need to fight you directly. She got backup. When people say stay and fight, you're basically saying stay in a rigged game and pretend you're free, which is what a lot of you Dane coaches try to tell these dudes. Keep in mind, not all men wish to maintain tradition. Some seek to destroy it. Poison in the water. Men like silk. So I'm going to start calling you niggas silk. This is the double betrayal. The system fights you, and your own so-called brothers become part of this machine. Silk types don't just survive in this broken system, they thrive in it. They manipulate the game to sleep with disordered women. So this is why they don't want you men to give the women standard, because something with women being disordered is linked to them opening their box or pussy. They shame traditional men for having standards or asking for discipline. And they gaslight the culture by saying you're just a bitter, insecure. Ain't that what a lot of dating coaches tell you, traditional niggas, that you're insecure and bitter because you don't want a promiscuous woman? But they're secure because they want promiscuous women, and they're not traditional. One can make the argument that a lot of dating coaches who are into open relationships and sex culture, you're insecure and you are coping because you're not strong enough in your game to be monogamous with a woman and find a woman that wants to be controlled by you and wants to give her pussy to you and you only. We can make that argument too. But they're really doing is running cover for dysfunction. That's what they're doing. Silk is doing. Or a lot of those dating coaches. They're really doing is running cover for dysfunction because they profit from it. They're not just traders, they're saboteurs. A lot of your Derek Jacksons, a lot of the current brother, I forgot his name. A lot of them, they're purposely sabotaging the black culture. Either for Scooby snacks, pussy, or for money. That's your Yada awakenings. By the way, hold on. Exit full screen, my bad. By the way, Yada awakening Apple. Of Eve. Isn't I want to share something with y'all niggas. And black women, y'all are really gullible. This is how we know that the serpent tricked you because you wanted to be tricked. He didn't trick you because you didn't want to. You wanted it. Like, this is Yada Awakening's product, Apple of Eve. What did Eve in the garden do What did the serpent? Hold on. Let me put that shit on stage. My bad. Add to stage. I'll remove this. Add this to stage. Yada's apple of Eve. What did Eve bite in the garden and trick Adam to eat that caused them to get kicked out the garden? Wasn't that not the apple? And Yada awakening the serpent in the garden, like many of your simps, who wants to sabotage the house of God and the black male patriarchy for their benefit, gave black women this apple of Eve to bite. It's crazy how his product is called apple of Eve. And the black woman willingly bit it. So do you know what that means? That Eve wasn't tricked into buying the apple. She purposely bit the apple. Bro. Anyway, put myself back on stage. Anyway, I know today I look rugged and rough, but I had to do this live. Black American men, y'all deserve a lot better than what you're getting. Jamaican men, y'all deserve a lot better too. There's a lot of hardworking Jamaican men that don't get appreciated by the women. Just get disrespected all the time. Feel me? But y'all deserve a lot better. In my opinion, the Latin women, the Maria, even though they have a lot of problems over there, but culturally, they're better, they're better built for a traditional hardworking man. I don't really trust Mei Ling, and I don't trust white women. I trust Latin women. So, black men, y'all need to exercise autonomy and break free from black culture. Once y'all break free from black culture, y'all gonna be like Superman when he's unhinged. You feel me? Anyway, this is Kiss Shawty Gamer Nation. I'm out.